Hello, welcome to this weather update, and I'm going to try to keep you posted on the current situation with Irma, Hurricane Irma. And I want to just show you the latest with the models to show you that they continue to be very variable. So we're going to just take a look at the GFS right now, all right? And you can see it really has a much weaker dip in the Jetstream here, and you can see that here. This is the high that's trying to build in middle of next week and give us some nice weather, but then the front stalls out and gets hung up thanks to a very strong Atlantic ridge, which really shouldn't even be here. All right, and as we get to it Thursday, you could start to see Irma in the North American picture, and we're going to look at the North American view here. Not the North American view, but the United States view of this model. This is the GFS 18Z run. And you can see that it won't let Irma go out to sea because it's got this ridge here. And what happens here is a high tries to build into the north. This may try to protect us from Irma and force it to the south. But either way, this is a dangerous Category 4, maybe even 5 storm, which is really unheard of in this area. I don't know why the GFS gets off strengthening it this far. I mean, it's very rare to see storms like that. But it has the storm hitting around Chesapeake Bay and having it going in around there. And even if it took this track, it would be pretty rough over here too as well. If it took this track, which I'm not buying. I think none of this makes sense to me. This is not normal, and it just kind of cuts it off too, which is really weird. And then it spins up another storm in the Gulf of Mexico. Almost feels like you're looking at the Canadian because it just seems like it wants to spin up anything. Speaking of the Canadian, let's look at that next and see what it does with Irma. And it looks like the Canadian is taking a similar, oh boy, yeah, again, huge intensity on this thing. Takes it in a little further south than GFS. Again, this is just model forecast, and yeah, it is very scary to look at. For sure. This is unheard of in our area to see a hurricane this intense in that particular position coming up that track. However, let's take a look at a model with a better track record when it comes to these things, and that would be the Euro. So we're going to look at the Euro here, and I much prefer the Euro solution. You'll see why. And the Euro solution makes a hell of a lot more sense. It has a much stronger trough over here, first of all, coming in Thursday. This would be the front, and it actually does bring the front through. And what winds up happening is Irma, as you see here, winds up just taking its right-hand turn, going out to sea where it belongs, maybe brushing Cape Cod. But this is a much better solution, much more normal-looking solution than the other two models. So that is what the models have to say about Irma. But let's take a look at what Irma is doing right now. Alright, so let's take a look at what Irma is doing now. Right now, it is weakened a little bit. Maximum sustained winds is 110 miles an hour. Movement remains west at 15 miles an hour. And it is still a major... Actually, they have it weakening to not a major hurricane, but then they have it strengthening again. And you can see here the track definitely, they can only go as far as the Caribbean, and from there it could get picked up and go out to sea like it's supposed to. It all depends on the strength of this ridge in the Atlantic. It's really the key to everything. Alright, this is a closer look at Irma here on the satellite imagery, and you can see it really still is a good-looking storm. Well, good or bad, however you want to put it, but it's still in it's in very good shape. The eye is well defined. It's really got a great outflow, and it is not really going anywhere anytime soon, unfortunately, and that's why we have to watch out. Here we zoomed out a little bit, but this storm is definitely going to hold together. It's not going anywhere. It will only get stronger as it moves west into warmer water. I just want to briefly go over the MODIS satellite here with you, showing you what's going on currently with the weather, and we might go back into yesterday too, just to look at it briefly. Here's what's left of Harvey. That's going to be affecting our area. It's already raining tonight. Here's the dreaded smoke, which we may be dealing with on Monday. I'm not sure. the smoke is definitely all over the place. You could see the smoke here. This is from fires up here. The smoke from these fires up here. I mean, this is a map that pretty much shows you the climate chaos that we are undergoing here between not enough rain, extreme drought, and fires. It's nuts. And so we're going to go here and look at California, because these are just, I mean, literally, it's like everything is on fire in the West and in Canada. It's just insane. So we have these huge fires burning in Northern California right now, and some burning in Southern California. And the reason why, let's zoom out here, the reason why these huge fires are burning is because it's hot and it's very dry. And I mean, it's hot. Let's go back to yesterday, and you can see how far the smoke plume is actually going from these fires out over the ocean. Is insane, insane stuff going on over here. And this is because there's very hot air over California. They've been breaking records. So we're going to actually look at the heat in California. And let's before we do that one more time, let's look at all the smoke that is plaguing our continent here, which is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. This is not normal weather at all. I've never seen anything like this. And I've been somebody who's been following the weather and has had an interest in weather since I was a kid, and I've never seen anything like this. So we'll leave you with some of the the last thing we're going to look at is some of the heat that they've been dealing with in California. So we are looking at San Francisco, some observations from San Francisco, and yeah, that is the current temperature right now in San Francisco, 96 degrees. San Francisco is a place where it usually never gets hot. Usually there's always a marine flow, but there's a east wind coming on off the land, and it's bringing in this heat. And you can see the forecast is for smoke, and this heat isn't going to go away until probably after Labor Day. And you can see the forecast for smoke. So take a look at some of these observations. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these temperatures here. This was for the records that they set yesterday, which are actually monthly records. I mean, it wasn't just a record for the day, it was a record for the entire month. San Francisco downtown hit 106. This is San Francisco, 104 at the airport. And then all these other areas in California also. Oakland Airport, 101. 106 at Moffett Field. San Jose, 108. Santa Cruz, 105. This is absolutely insane. And if you look here at the right here, you'll see these are the record high temperatures for the entire month of September. But these here on the top are all-time record high temperatures, which means it's never been this hot before in San Francisco. Never been this hot before. All right, so don't tell me that we are not in a climate emergency here. Look around you and see all of what's going on. This planet is in a crisis, and we need direct, immediate intervention to cool this planet down. And people will just brush this aside and downvote and dislike this video because of that. Well, when you're all dying and starving and the food is drying up and the human race is about to go extinct, all I'm going to tell you is I freaking told you so. You know, all I can tell you is this is a phrase that Humpty Dumpty Tribe, it's another channel you can watch, talks about. We are so fucked. We are so fucked. You know, we have a severe climate problem in our hands, and it needs to be dealt with immediately. And I think we need to use whatever means possible to start cooling this planet down as soon as possible, and start getting especially the Arctic, because what we're seeing here is a direct result of the warming in the Arctic and the unusual and abnormal jet stream patterns that have occurred as a result of that. Okay, this is the best graphic I could find right now at a moment's notice with the jet stream and how it works. Let me explain to you what fuels the energy of the jet stream briefly, all right, and why we're seeing this crazy weather, and that'll be it for this video. So we have the tropics here, and then we have the Arctic here. And the jet stream, the energy from the jet stream is fueled by the difference between the tropics and the Arctic, the temperature difference. But the Arctic is getting warmer. And so there's less of a difference now between the poles and the equator. So the jet stream, which is normally a very strong, defined current of winds, is much more diffuse now. And because it's more diffuse, the normal cycling of systems like this for instance is what you're looking at is a more normal jet stream pattern where you're seeing storms come into California bringing rain and having an onshore flow, especially north, so we don't have brush fires burning all over the place. All right, and we also have the jet stream flowing out over here in a little trough in the east, so if a hurricane were to come up here it would get pushed out to sea. But because we don't have a strong defined jet stream because of climate change, we are seeing all these weather crises happening, whether it be Harvey and the flooding in Houston and all the devastating, worst natural disaster to ever hit the States, all right, to the fires burning in California and the West Coast, Oregon, Washington, Canada, to the potential disaster we may have here in my own area as a Cat 3 or Cat 4 hurricane winds up taking a direct hit on New York City and Long Island. The climate is in crisis, and climate change, climate's due, there are variations, from time to time, but this is happening very rapidly, and it is due to the fact we've reached the tipping point, and we are now going over the cliff, and if we don't get this under control in the next couple of years, the human race will be brought to its knees. Call me an alarmist, whatever you want, but we need to do something now. And I really want, instead of disliking this video and voting it down, think about what we can do right now to reduce climate change and to cool this planet down, whether it be cutting your fossil fuel consumption, whether it be pressuring your elected officials to take geoengineering programs to start cooling this planet down, and putting stuff in the upper atmosphere to reflect the sunlight, to have ocean pumps to cool the oceans down. We need to do these things, and we need to get started. We need to get cracking now, because we are going to make ourselves extinct if we don't get this problem under control. Thank you for listening and watching.